the gifts and talents, we can either use it for our own, wealth, power, to be superior to others, or we can use it to serve our fellow human beings, men and women that we come in contact with. We can either lead a life of significance, a life on purpose dedicated to serving others, or we can lead a narcissistic life, focused on our own aggrandizement and wealth and power.
Yeah.
And, we'll see his superhero nemesis chooses the opposite path. But
Right.
This is a pivotal moment for Peter Parker. Which path is he going to choose?
Right. And what's really interesting about that scene that you've just talked about and that we played the clip for at the beginning of the show is that Uncle Ben has no idea that any of this stuff is going on underneath the surface. Uncle Ben has no idea Peter's been bitten by a spider and now has the powers, the proportionate powers of a spider. He has no idea of that. He has no idea that he is about, he's not going to study, that he's going to run off to this wrestling match to try to make $3,000 to use his powers for his own gain. He has none of that context Uncle Ben has. But what he sees in his nephew, in the boy he's raised, he sees he's veering off course in other ways. There's a scene earlier on where he was going to help Uncle Ben paint the house, the kitchen. And he says, "Hey, don't be late." And Peter leaves. "I won't be late." But Peter spends the time instead testing out his spider powers. He's climbing walls. He's doing all those things. And he forgets all about helping Uncle Ben. And it was, we haven't talked about this in advance, but that scene was so speaks to the power or the character of his Uncle Ben, that rather than yell at him for not showing up to help out his 68-year-old uncle paint the kitchen, he leaves a warm food in the oven and writes a note where he calls him Michelangelo, because that's what he called him about helping him paint. I mean, there's this loving response to Peter's irresponsibility. And that's what he's drilling into in this conversation that you just talked about, where he's saying with great power comes great responsibility, even though he doesn't know how great the power is that Peter has.